Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The flock rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So practice just ended. We don't have a lot of updates from practice specifically, but we have some key injury updates. We have a key player that returned to practice, and then we got some rule changes that really affect the way that this 53-man roster is going to go down. We'll start with the injury updates. Tyler Linderbaum did return to practice today. He had a red no contact jersey on, but he was out there moving around. He was back at practice, so that's a great sign. I guess it was a neck soft tissue injury. He's got like a neck brace on, but incredible news that he's back at practice. We're still like 10 days out from the game, so if he's continuously practicing, I mean, there is no concern for week one. Harbaugh also said that Mark Andrews and Kyle Hamilton, who both didn't practice today, will also be ready for week one, and that there are no serious injury concerns. We did get a little bit more information on Rasheen Ali, who's still not at practice, and Harbaugh said that he is still in the concussion protocol after that initial stinger in the first preseason game. So I talked about it in my roster prediction video, but I mean, he seems like a prime candidate for them to just kind of stash him or maybe move on in general. I'm not sure, but he's still out. Josh Ross was also out of practice today because he was in a car accident, but everything's good, no injuries. Kind of crazy that there's multiple car accidents happening like this, but he should be good. And there were a ton of players out of practice today. I think there were like 20 plus players missing, which makes complete sense. I mean, the cuts are due by tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern, so we're not going to see a lot of guys. They've already made a couple initial cuts. And speaking of roster cuts, the NFLPA vetoed a major rule change. So last year they instilled a rule that you could have that third emergency QB active on game days in case the first and second string QB goes down. Then that third emergency wouldn't count against your game day roster, but can be activated. But that emergency third QB had to be on your active 53, or you had to do a general practice squad elevation to the active 53, but you couldn't just bring them up an unlimited amount of times. And then this year they changed the rule where that emergency third QB doesn't have to be on your 53 and can be brought up from the practice squad an unlimited number of times. Well, come to find out this morning, the NFLPA vetoed that because they were afraid that teams were going to be taking advantage of it and kind of stashing QBs as their emergency third QB, and then you could just keep bringing them up as much as you want. So it was vetoed, and the rule will stay the same as it was last year.
We were kind of counting on the rule. I didn't know it changed until Chad told me walking off the field just now. So I think the PA vetoed it. That's what happened. So they vetoed it for whatever good reason that they had, and we'll have to change our thinking on that.
So if the Ravens want an emergency third QB, they're going to have to put that third QB on their 53-man roster. So a guy like Devin Leary or Emory Jones would have to make the team. Or you could put him on the practice squad, only have 2 QBs on your active roster, but then you're going to have to use practice squad elevations to get them onto game day if you need them, or you just rock with 2 QBs, which is obviously kind of risky. So the Ravens are going to want to use the third emergency QB rule, which makes me think that maybe now you have to put a third QB on the active roster if they kind of want to roll the dice and fill that position out with a guy like Bo Braid or Sanusi Kane or something, where we're not giving up another roster spot in order to put a QB on. Then we got to go with 2 QBs, which is going to be Lamar Jackson and Josh Johnson. And then we're going to have to throw Leary or Jones on the practice squad, but then you can only bring them up a few times. You can't just elevate a guy from the practice squad an unlimited amount of times like this rule was supposed to be this year. So I think it makes it a lot harder for teams, and it's better for the players, and that's why the NFLPA vetoed this. But man, the teams now have to kind of make some some different decisions, because I guarantee you the Ravens were not about to bring 3 QBs onto their active roster. I just did my 53-man roster prediction episode yesterday, and it wasn't even a doubt in my mind that we were only going with Lamar and Josh Johnson. That's completely changed already. I mean, now there's a huge consideration to bring a Devin Leary or Emory Jones onto that 53-man. I mean, you have to strongly consider it, because if not, you're not going to have an emergency third QB for a lot of the season, because you can't keep just bringing them up and down from the practice squad as much as you want. So you're going to have to kind of make that decision. Do we want that third QB? And then you got to give up another roster spot. So you bring in Devin Leary, let's just say, or Emory Jones as your third QB. Well, now who doesn't make the team? Is it one of those safeties? Is it Pepe Williams? Is it a lineman? Like who's gone? Because somebody's getting cut or moved to the practice squad that was going to make the 53. So this rule getting vetoed changes quite a bit, in my opinion, and it'll be really interesting tomorrow when they announce those cuts after 4 o'clock Eastern, when we finally have the 53. It'll be interesting to see if the Ravens do go with 3 QBs or not. And then let's not forget, this roster is going to be in constant fluctuation. There's guys getting released from every single team, like 30-plus guys getting released from every single team. If the Ravens aren't happy with their O-line depth or their running back depth, or there's a receiver that becomes available, they can go make a move. This 53 that gets announced tomorrow isn't going to be the 53 that we end with at the end of the season. So it's just the beginning of this journey. There's going to be a million different moves, and I guarantee you the Ravens add a guy here and there. There's no way that this is it, So that's always something to keep in mind, because sometimes it feels like, oh man, like we're just screwed. We don't have a great third running back. Well, not a lot of teams have a great third running back, but I hear you. If we need a more proven, solid depth option, there's like 10 veteran running backs sitting out there. Like, go sign Dalvin Cook or somebody. So, like, there's options out there. We're not screwed. And I think the roster is just something fun and interesting to talk about while we're here at the beginning of the season. But in reality, it's a constant fluctuation, day by day, week by week, as the season goes, just depending on what the team needs, what injuries happen, who's playing well, who's not. Harbaugh was asked at his press conference today if he determined the starting offensive line. He said yes, it is confirmed, but he's not going to tell anyone until they roll the lineup out there against the Chiefs. And we're not probably going to get a lot of injury updates or who's starting, who's not. We're not going to get a lot of that information, because it's a competitive disadvantage for you to reveal all of that. So, I mean, it's going to get pretty tight-lipped, but the offensive line starters are official. And I think we can probably predict who it is. I mean, Ronnie Stanley, left tackle, Voorhees, left guard, Tyler Linderbaum, center, right guard, Falele, right tackle, Rosengarten / McCary. And Harbaugh said that he is not against rotating right tackles, which I'm not really a fan of. If, we like Roger, then let's just start Roger and let him develop and kind of go through a couple little bumps here and there. But if they want to rotate tackles, then that's what they're going to do. But he said he's open to it, so I wouldn't be shocked if we get a little combination of McCary playing, in the tackle spot here and there. So I wouldn't be shocked if we do end up rotating the tackles. But regardless, starting O-line is official. We don't exactly know who it is, but I'm going to take a wild guess. I mean, they're not just going to throw Ben Cleveland in there when he never really even ran at right guard. So, I mean, it's Falele. Let's just be real. I don't know how I feel about it yet, where I'll have a better answer after I watch week 1 against the Chiefs. I'm not confident, but that doesn't matter. My confidence is irrelevant. You know what I mean? Like, just go out there, perform, and let's go beat the Chiefs, and then none of us are going to care about who the starters are in the offensive line. We'll have some growing pains, of course. It's a young offensive line, a lot of inexperience. There's going to be some bad reps, no doubt about it. But hopefully, as the weeks go, and it only takes a couple weeks, these guys really start to gel, and, we get stronger and stronger as the season goes on. I think that's the plan, and I don't see why that wouldn't happen. If you do have your core unit, just leave them out there. Let them go through these growing pains. Now, if someone's really awful, then go make a move. and bring in somebody that is experienced and can fill the position better. But I'm just saying, if the plan is to go with these young guys, let's toss them out there and let's let them learn and develop. They're going to get better by just making a couple mistakes. Backup center Nick Samac also returned to practice today, and Harbaugh said he only has a sprained ankle. So that changes the roster predictions quite a bit too. I left him off of my roster predictions because at that point, all the information that we had was that he was just carted off at the preseason game, and now he's already back at practice with just a sprained ankle. So I guess he's all right, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up making the 53, which would bounce a guy like Saleh or potentially even a Josh Jones or somebody like that. I think would get left off for Samac to make the team. But that third QB situation is now a factor to consider. So we'll see what happens. Final roster gets announced tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern. They got to have the 53-man in, so we'll know who's on the team officially. And then the practice squad has to be filled out by Wednesday. But like I said, it's always a fluctuation. You know, it'll be super cool to know who's on the team, but just because someone makes it or whatever tomorrow doesn't even mean that by the time we're playing the Chiefs or by the time we're at week 2 or something that those players are still there. So it's a constant movement. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate you as always for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim there where the sense can't tame the untamed.